Hi, in this video we're going to continue the conversation of key signatures. So before we learned how to match our key signature with a 1 octave scale to identify the key we're playing in. Now from there we're going to take it a step further and figure out what notes we could possibly play on every single string because we can obviously play more notes than the octave scale. So to start, we're going to go through the lowest string to the highest, and while I do that, you'll see some fingerboard charts pop up, and those are very helpful because if you want to figure out what notes you might play for other keys besides the ones we go over, take a look at those and that will help you figure out what notes to play. So we're going to start off with the key of D major. So you'll see some sharps and naturals. The naturals are gray and the sharps are red. Now this will change when we go through a key signature with flats. The naturals will still stay gray, but the flats will be blue. And so I kind of thought this color coding system might help with identifying the different notes and if they're sharp, flat, or natural. Okay, so to start with, in the key of D major, we're going to begin with the G string. So we can play the open G. The next note we could play on G is A, which is just that first finger. The second note will leave some space, which for B, we'll leave some more space again for C sharp. And then our fourth finger is going to go right next to C sharp. And this fourth finger is D. It's also the same as our open D string. Now on the D string, we're going to start off so we can play the open string, obviously. Then we can play that first finger E, same spot as that A on the G string. And then the second finger is F sharp, same as what was on the G string. Then the third finger will be right next to F sharp for G. Then we'll leave some space for the fourth finger A. This A is also the same as your open A string, so we can play the open A string in this key. From there, we'll place our first finger in the same spot as the other strings. We'll leave some space for the second finger for C sharp. Then D natural will go right next to C sharp. Then we'll leave some space for the fourth finger E. And this fourth finger E is the same as our E string. So we can play the E string in this key. We'll also place our first finger in the same place as all the other strings for F sharp. Now we're going to have G natural in this key. So the second finger is going to go right next to F sharp. So F sharp and G are really close together. And then we'll leave some space for third finger A and some space for the fourth finger B. Okay, so that's what we can play in the key of D major. And if you want to reference that fingerboard chart later, there's a link down below where you can find fingerboard charts for multiple keys. Mostly all of them, or at least the ones that you're going to see to begin with. So we're going to continue into a flat key, and the key we're going to choose is B flat. And in this key, we can't play all the open strings. There will be one open string we can't play in the key of B flat, and that is E, because we have B flat and E flat in the key of B flat. And so that'll kind of make more sense when we get to that note. So we're going to start again with the G string. So we can play the open G. Then we'll place our first finger for A. Then B flat will go right next to A. Then we'll leave some space for C, some space for D. This also means we can play the open D string because that's the same note as the fourth finger on G. Instead of putting our first finger here though, we're going to play E flat. So that means we have to put our first finger closer to the scroll. Then we'll leave some space for F natural, then some space for G natural, and then some space for A. This is the same A as our A string again, so we can play the open A string. Here we'll also put our first finger closer to the scroll because we're going to play B flat. And then we'll need to leave some space for C for the second finger, some space for D for the third finger. And then here, we're going to put the fourth finger right next to D because we're going to play E flat. if we were playing E natural, we would leave some space. But because we're in the key of B flat, we have to play E flat. And this is why we can't play the open E string, because that E natural that we would normally play on the A string with some space is the same as our E string. But E flat is lower, so we can't play the open E string at all. So now to go on to the E string, can't play that open E string like we just talked about. So the first note we can play on the E string will be F natural. So that's going to go behind where F sharp normally goes, and it's going to be closer to the scroll again. Then we'll leave some space for G natural, then some space for A, and then we'll have B flat. So that means A and B flat have to be right next to each other. So 3 and 4 will be next to each other in this key. So hopefully that helps kind of give you an idea of where some of your sharps go, some of your flats go, and some of your naturals. And if you would like to know more or discover other key signatures, go ahead and take a look at those other fingerboard charts, and they'll have a reference for tapes if you had them when you started learning. So if you have that to start with, like that first finger, second finger, third finger, and fourth finger tapes, and then there will be notes in between for all of the other ones. So yeah, hopefully this helps, and you learn a little bit more about how to identify key signature and then what you can play in a given key signature.